Was Saddam desperately trying to make a deal on the eve of war to stop the war before it began? The behind-the-scenes maneuvers and the Washington denials, as Fox reports tonight. A Lebanese-American businessman now coming forward claiming Saddam wanted to cut a deal to make concessions to prevent U.S. bombs from falling, to allow thousands of its inspectors and much more. From the White House to the Pentagon, a chorus of denials. U.S. officials say they explored every credible lead, that this lead could not have avoided war, and that Saddam himself had ample time and opportunity to do so.
There were something like 18, ultimately 18 UN resolutions. There was a declaration where they had the opportunity. The president gave a last chance ultimatum.
As we all now know, Saddam ignored that last chance ultimatum, and this was the result. In the end, he had 48 hours to leave Iraq and divert war, and he refused. Our Fox report now from National Security Correspondent Bret Baier on the top story from the Pentagon. Bret?
Shep, could a back-channel peace deal have been brokered with Saddam Hussein's regime before Operation Iraqi Freedom ever started? Multiple Bush administration officials said today, definitely not. But a Lebanese-American businessman, Ahmad Haj, says he disagrees. Just weeks before the war, as U.S. troops were building up, he says he was approached by top Iraqi intelligence officials and had a meeting with Tahir Haboush, the director of Iraqi intelligence, who would later be known as the Jack of Diamonds in CENTCOM's deck of Most Wanted. The message in that pre-war meeting, Haj says, was fear.
It seemed at the time that the U.S. military build-up, the threat of overwhelming use of force was achieving its objective. The Iraqis were prepared to make concessions, substantial concessions.
Haj, who had a contact in the Pentagon, managed to set up a meeting with Richard Pearl, a close advisor to the administration on U.S.-Iraq policy and former head of the Defense Policy Board. Haj said Pearl was interested and took the proposal back to Washington and wanted to talk to the Iraqis. But later, Pearl told Haj U.S. leaders weren't interested. Pearl couldn't be reached for comment today. But U.S. intelligence officials say during the run-up to the war, multiple foreign intelligence agencies and third parties signaled a willingness on the part of Saddam Hussein's regime to negotiate a deal. Officials say anything remotely plausible and some things that weren't plausible were explored by the CIA. Officials also say there were several attempts to meet directly with Iraqi intelligence officers, but each time, quote, they were no-shows.
If there were a credible and legitimate opportunity to resolve it peacefully, we would have pursued it.
And Defense Secretary Rumsfeld said today Saddam Hussein didn't have to go through back channels. He had, quote, well beyond ample opportunities to avoid war. Shep?
Bret Baier, live at the Pentagon.
Tonight,
the president signs the $87 billion package for Iraq and Afghanistan, saying it's a financial commitment to win the war on terror. Tonight, breaking down the dollars. Rescued POW Jessica Lynch was raped by her Iraqi captors. The details of her captivity from her own authorized memoir. The Scott Peterson hearing and testimony about a concrete anchor. Surveillance cameras as the defense tries to plant the seeds of doubt and possible police tampering. Plus a deadly workplace shooting. And newly released tapes revealing the horror of the Rhode Island club fire. What happened that disastrous night? The news, as Fox reports right now.
live from the world headquarters of Fox News in New York, this is the Fox Report with Shepard Smith. Fair news, balanced news, now.
President Bush is calling it a down payment on our national security. Today, the president signed into law the $87 billion plus package for Iraq and Afghanistan, saying it not only shows the generosity of the American people, but protects us down the road from danger and sends an important message to the rest of the world.
This act of Congress, no enemy or friend can doubt that America has the resources and the will to see this war through to victory.
The president says bringing freedom to Iraq and Afghanistan is just part of his plan for the Middle East. A Fox Report now from White House correspondent Wendell Goler, live tonight on the North Lawn. Wendell?